Hey guys, Abraham here. I just want to remind you guys that we upload all of our courses to Skillshare. Skillshare is this amazing site where you can access a ton of different content to learn, improve, and grow as an artist. We have all of our courses available to watch and learn from right now in Skillshare. You can check the description down here, and Skillshare is offering 1 free month trial to their premium membership. With this membership, you're going to be able to access all of our courses and watch and learn all of the amazing things that we cover with all of the softwares. So, what are you waiting for? Check Skillshare down here below.
Hi guys, welcome back to the next video in our series. Today we're going to continue with the infected. My voice still hasn't recovered, so I might sound a little bit raspy or the volume might not be great. I apologize for that, but I'm still trying to deliver all of these things. Now, before we move on to the character, just want to remind you, tomorrow we won't have a video for Thursday because tomorrow in the morning we're going to have our live stream for the Maxon ZBrush event, and we're going to be doing a live stream. So if you want to join us, it's going to be 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is going to be 12 p.m. for me on Thursday again, and we're gonna have that's probably gonna be like 12 a.m. for people in India. I'm sorry about that, but we're gonna have that stuff. And then on Friday and the rest of the weekend we'll continue with the character. So let's jump right into it. Today we're gonna be working on the character right here, on the actual, what's the word, on the like props that he has here on the belt. So it's the belt and these very nice pants that we have. So let's jump right here. Now, as you remember, in one of the first videos, we created this pants which were looking quite nice. This looked quite nice. Now, the only problem with clothing is that when you start working with clothing, especially when it's double-sided, it can get a little bit tricky to control when you do like a stroke. So imagine I were to like add some volume here like this. Something that happens very commonly is I start grabbing stuff from the backside of the element, and that's it can get tricky. It can be difficult, and you get like some weird holes when you're using Dynamesh, and it's not perfect. So one way we can get away from that is by going into brush and then into auto masking, and there's an option called back face masking, which I actually oh, I thought I had the custom thing. I'm gonna add the custom thing real quick. So preferences, config, enable customize, and then brush, and you just press Control Alt and drag this wherever you want. So I'm gonna place this right here. I'm also gonna add another one that's called mask by polygroups. There we go. So two little like masking options. So this is per brush, so every brush has to have this set up. So if I go to back face masking and I do this now, you can see that we're no longer pushing from the inside. So this would be what I would normally do. Let me, by the way, close Photoshop because you guys know that it interferes with the thing. And very quickly, sorry about this, let me turn on Karnak. There we go. So I don't like working that way. It's very complicated and it gets like really messy results. So what I'm gonna do is, if you check the polygroups, when we did the extraction and the thickness of the extraction, we actually got this thing where we have like an inner polygroup, middle polygroup, this one, and outer polygroup. So I'm gonna press Control Shift and click on the outer polygroup, and then I'm just gonna say delete hidden. You can find this function on the geometry modify topology tab. It's the delete hidden option. So now we only have this one, and that's what I wanna work with. So if we take a look here, you can see that we have this very like nice jaggedy edge on the pants, and that's what I wanna create. So let me turn on the geometry, and I'm gonna use my move brush first, and I'm actually gonna remove symmetry. We're not gonna have symmetry. Oh, sorry, BMB, there we go. And I'm just gonna start moving. So I can see that here on like on this pant goes a little bit lower to like the leg, so we're in a good position there. And this one is a little bit higher. So something like this. Now you can see that since we're only working with a like a light like surface right now, we're not actually seeing the other side of the pants. If you want to change this, you can go to display properties and just hit double, so we see both sides of the element. Now to create this like jaggedy edge, we actually need to delete the polygroups or the polygons that we don't want. So I'm going to select Control Shift, and I'm going to change my select option here to select lasso. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start like pressing Control Shift Alt, and I'm going to create the broken sort of like effect that we have right here on the pants. Like this. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? It's just we're just trying to get some polygons out of the element. Same on this side. Like we have like a little dot right there, and then like a and then like a big one right here, and then we can add like another one over there, and that's it. So that's gonna give us the sort of like broken down effect. We also have that sort of effect like up here, so we might want to just like break out some of the pieces of the pants over here. There we go. Now we're gonna do the same thing, delete hidden, and now those polygons are gone. So we no longer have those polygons. Let's again delete hidden. There we go. And we're ready to start working on the clothing section. Now, first I'm gonna use my my voice is just gone. I'm gonna use my move brush, and I'm gonna start adding this sort of like spiky things on certain areas. So you know, just like generally like this. Now you can see that topology looks really bad. So this would be a nice place to go into geometry and say see remeasure. So I'm just gonna see remesh the whole thing. And since it's a single plane, like it should clean up the edge loops a little bit more. Well, in this case, it didn't actually like do a good job. There's another option here in the deformation, which is called polish by features. There we go. So as you can see, the polish by features like fixes a little bit of that effect, and now we can do see remeasure, and it will give us a nicer, cleaner topology. There we go. That's way better. Now I want the cloth to like fall in a more like natural way. Right now it looks a little bit too like clumpy. I'm gonna use some of the dynamics options. So I'm gonna go here to dynamics, and I'm gonna say collision volume. This will calculate the collision volume, and now if I were to go into dynamics and here run simulation, you can see that the pants fall down. Now I don't want the pants to fall down, so I'm gonna mask out, or I can just create like a mask here, like simulating the belt like that. And now if I say dynamics, run simulation, the pants are gonna try to fall down. Unfortunately, the strength of the fans is like really heavy, so I'm gonna go back to dynamics, and first of all, I'm gonna change the gravity strength down to something like a 2. And I'm gonna run the simulation iterations like a little bit higher. And now when we run simulation, it's gonna look a lot more natural, right? Let's give it a little bit more. There we go. So now as you can see, the pants look a lot more realistic because they're actually falling the way I would expect pants to fall. Now we can of course go here and just like smooth a couple of these things out. And I'm also going to be using, because we can see there's like big spikes on the top, I'm going to be using my BM, but I'm not going to use the move brush. There's actually a cloth move that's really cool. So up here we have this cloth pool. And the cool thing about the cloth pool, as you can see right here, is it will give me a little bit more of a nicer effect. So it's going to pull things, and it's going to try to give me like the wrinkles that we like kind of have. There's another like cloth move. There we go. This one will allow me to push it while still keeping this sort of like interesting wrinkles. This feature is only available on the newer ZBrushes, so if you're using an old version of ZBrush and you don't have access to dynamics, you might not have access to this sort of like things. That's one of the reasons why it is cool to have your license, because you can get access to this cool stuff. Let's see if Maxon gives us a good news tomorrow about licensing. Maybe they'll surprise us and they'll include something cool or something. There we go. Now, one of the problems with clothing, or with cloth in general, is that it gets a little bit tricky to, to get the thickness right. Here's where something called dynamic subdivision really helps and really works, which is this thing over here. On the geometry section, dynamic subdivision, we can turn this on. This is going to smooth the cloth without actually smoothing it. So it's going to give us a nice resolution, and we can add a little bit of thickness here. See that? So now we can get closer to what we had on the concept without actually having this. This is just like a preview. It's pretty much like what Blender does with its modifiers, where it would apply the transformation, but it's not actually like modifying the elements. So it works really well. Now, the only thing that I don't like about this thickness in this particular case is that the offset is set to 0. So it's giving me thickness on both sides of the element. If I change the thickness to the inside, you can see that now the pants are going to go like closer to the character. Now, if we find something that we like, such as this, we can just hit apply, and it's pretty much like if we recover like the inside and the outside of the pants after we've done all of the things. So yeah, that looks cool. Let's go to the belt. We already had a belt, right? Yeah, this one right there. And I'm gonna select the belt. And actually, before we continue with the, what's the word? Before we continue with the pants, I want to make sure that the belt is like nice and tight where it's supposed to be. Right now, dynamics is turned on, so since I have cloth move and it's trying to move the thing, it's getting like super heavy. Don't worry. So we're gonna go here. I don't like the topology of this guy. As you can see, we have like things on the inner side. That's not what I want. So I'm gonna select the inner faces like this, and then invert the selection. And I'm gonna say delete hidden. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go to geometry, dynamics of division, and we're gonna add thickness to get like the thickness of the belt, like that. And then I'm just gonna hit apply. It's kind of like creating an extrusion out of the element. Now let's bring the body. There we go. And we need to make sure that this thing like fits the body properly. So I'm gonna use my move brush with symmetry turned on. And I'm just gonna start pushing this belt. Now I don't care. Oh, I actually do care. I was gonna say I don't care if it looks like way too loose, but I actually do care. So I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna push this with just like the move brush and the scale brush first. And now that we're really close to the surface, we can grab the move brush and I can start pushing these things like in and out. So that's really, really tight to the character. And we get like some nice overlaps. There we go. Now I don't care too much about this like back sides right there that we're seeing, because the shorts are gonna be covering those areas. I just want this thing to be like really close to the character. Now we can turn on the pants. We can go to the pants. Let's turn off geometry. And it's very important that we start modifying this thing so that it looks like the belt is actually like pushing or holding these things, right? So for this part, I like using the move brush. I think it's very like natural and it gives this very nice effect. Something like this. And it's just a matter of tweaking and making sure that the overlaps look good. A lot of people worry about overlaps too much, especially in games. You can overlap the living and like, you know what, out of and everything, because we're gonna be baking. Like all of this thing would be eventually baked onto a low mesh character or low resolution character, and it really doesn't matter that these things are overlapping unless there's gonna be a scene or a moment on the game or the cinematic where the character is gonna be like taking his pants off. I don't imagine this guy will do that though. Those cases, then yeah, you need to be a little bit more careful because the overlap could be seen. But more often than not, you're not going to be experiencing that sort of stuff. So as you can see, we can get this very, very nice effect where it definitely looks like the belt is applying pressure on top of the cloth, on top of the pants, and it looks way, way like nicer, right? Now it's a good moment to go into our clay buildup again. And for instance, like I don't see a lot here on the character, but we could add like a couple of wrinkles or tension lines, you know. Like follow some of the ones that we already have to make this thing look a little bit more realistic. Now the pants seem to be a little bit too like cardboardy, so I'm gonna grab my trim dynamic and I'm just gonna like flatten some of the wrinkles a little bit more, so they look a little bit more cartoonish. Like this thing's right here, that's too much detail. Let's get rid of it because it should look a little bit more minimalistic. Now here again, we can go with our like traditional move brush and get closer to like the cuts and stuff that we have. Like I see a couple like little things like pushing in and out of the character. Here's where also it's very common when we're adapting a concept into like 3D. Sometimes like little things like this super complex pattern that we have right here, of course we can try to mimic it as close as possible, but that's going to require quite a bit of geometry that sometimes in game you're not going to be able to have. So when you're doing adaptations, sometimes you'll find out that there's just a couple of things that look very cool on the concept, but they're not feasible for the rest of the element. Now we have these bands right here. Those are really simple. I'm just gonna append a cube 3D. I am gonna move the cube to the center of the belt, And we're going to use one of the tools that we have here inside of ZBrush, which is called ZModeler. I had a class with a student today. He's a really good friend and a very good student. And he was mentioning that he hates ZModeler. And I understand why. ZModeler is really like it's not very intuitive to what we can do with it. So it's very weird to work with. So I have my ZModeler shortcut right here. And I'm going to go into polyframes. I need to select lasso. I'm going to select a rect because I want to select the top polygroups. Control W to do that. And I'm going to do actually the same thing. Let's actually like hide this ones. There we go. So Control W, and those now have the same polygroup, top and bottom. So I'm going to go to my cube mesh. It's going to say polygroup all. And I'm going to polygroup this up. And then I only want like the outer faces. So I'm gonna push this up and hit Alt to create like different polygroups. There we go. And now let's hide all of that. We only have the back faces. Let's hide all of those. Hit Control W again. And then I'm just gonna push these things back like this. So it's just like a very basic shape, right? Now if we go again to geometry and we select dynamic subdivision, you can see that we get this, and it looks okay. So I'm just gonna hit apply, and now I definitely want to like soften this up a little bit more. So I'm gonna use my trim dynamic and just like soften this corner a little bit so it looks more like cloth. I'm not using symmetry because I do want them to be like the top and the bottom slightly different. I think that's gonna help with the overall like character. And there we go. That's the belt buckle, right? So now I'm gonna bring the belt buckle to where it's supposed to be. I can see here in the comments that you have one here. I would imagine one on the back and two on the other side. So let's bring them like in, rotate them. I probably flatten them a little bit. And again, overlap. Don't worry too much about the overlaps. The important thing is that when we see the character, it looks like what we have right there. I think it's a little bit too thick. Let's make it a little bit smaller. It's a little bit closer to the center, so let's bring it in. There we go. Yeah, I like that one. I think this short's a little bit too low on the concept. This short's a little bit like higher. So I'm just gonna again use my move brush to push this thing up. And same for this one. This one seems to be a little bit like low, because we can see a little bit of the knee. So just a matter of adjusting some movements there. I'm also gonna start adjusting the silhouette. So I'm gonna keep like a straight silhouette. You can see that's kind of like a skirt rather than a pants. So I'm gonna like straighten this thing a little bit more. I can still use my trim dynamic over here to, you know, give this sort of like nice clean silhouette. There we go. Now let's go back to this guy. And I'm going to press W, Control Alt, and then drag out. Oh, it has multiple subdivisions. Let's delete lower. There we go. So we don't have subdivisions, and we can just like duplicate this guy. Rotate this around. And we, of course, need to position this on the back end of the character. Now, of course, we don't see this on the concept, but these are the kind of things that you need to guess on the design of things and make sure you include, because otherwise things just don't make sense. So for instance here, I'm way too close to the center line, so I'm gonna push this thing a little bit like further out, probably like there. Let's push this there we go. I think it's way too like further out, so I'm gonna push it in, even if later on we need to fix the belt a little bit. And now that we have two, like we have the front and the back view, we can go to C plugin, Subtool Master, and say mirror. And that's gonna give us like the front and the back of the elements. Now here, if I need to like change them or whatever, now we can just like a little bit of a move brush to push things around and give it a little bit more of an organic feel, right? Like we don't want things to be like perfectly equal, so we can just like move them a little bit. And yeah, the pants are looking quite nice. Sorry. Now the little like sun belt, right? So if you take a look at the sun, and this is one of the things that I always encourage my students to analyze. This is like a cylinder, right? So if we were to have like a cylinder, like a very clean cylinder, I know that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spikes. So we have one big spike here, big spike here, big spike here, and small spike and small spike. So this is a cylinder. If we do a 10-sided cylinder, we should be able to get the 5 faces and then just extrude these things out, right? It's just simple like deduction. Instead of having to like use booleans and stuff, which by the way we could as well, sometimes like the simplest solution is the better one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my polymesh here, the little star, polymesh 3D. I'm gonna go all the way down. And if we go to initialize, we can initialize a Q cylinder C, which is a cylinder that's going to be facing forward, as you can see right now. And we have this. So this is an 8-sided cylinder. I think we need more resolution. So I'm going to go to the cylinder instead. There we go. I'm going to rotate this, or actually you can just change this, align C. And then right now on the H divide, that's the amount of divisions. We can just change this to 10. And that's going to give me a 10-sided cylinder. Now on the V divide, which is this one, I'm going to change this to 1 so that we only have this section right here. And I'm just going to say make polymesh 3D. We're going to go back to our character, subtool, append, and we're going to append that cylinder. And we're going to position it where it's supposed to be. So let's select this guy, scale it. And based on the size, you can see that's a rather big shape, right? Now I'm focusing on the inner side of this cylinder right here. That's what I want to match first. So I'm gonna match that like small cylinder, which is something like this. Now I'm gonna go again to C modeler. Let's select this faces like this. I'm gonna, or just like hide this. Okay. Are we there? Huh. Weird. Oh, that's really weird. There we go. Control W so that we have the outer polygroup selected. And if we go to Q mesh again, we can just Q mesh this out. And that is what's going to give us the thickness of the little like sun icon that we have right there. I think that's a little bit too much. So something like that. There we go. Now I know that we want that. You can even see it like that. It actually is following the cylinder. So I'm gonna get rid of this faces right here and this faces right here, so that we're only left with this guy right here. I'm gonna say delete hidden. I'm gonna go back to visibility. No, sorry, display properties, double again. There we go. And we need to bridge this, right? Because we want things to be like together. So I'm gonna hit R first. Let's give it the proper thickness, which is something like that. And in the Q mesh option, if you go into the edge actions, we have this bridge. We can just say from here to here, from here to here, and then from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. And since I'm really lazy, I'm just gonna go to deformation. I'm gonna mirror this thing, and I'm gonna mirror and weld, and there we go. And that's it. We have the basic shape of the sun here, which I know that eventually we can just smooth out, because right now it looks very low poly. Now I'm gonna go to my options here, and I'm gonna go to the polygroup option, because I'm gonna polygroup this guy right here, which is this like main spike on both sides. And I wanna polygroup these two guys right here. So now I'm gonna polymesh or Q mesh the polygroup again, and we're gonna push this out, which are gonna eventually be the big spikes. This one's right here, which as you can see are quite big. So let's push this a little bit further out like this. There we go. Now I'm gonna go to the edge, and there's an option called collapse. So I'm gonna collapse this and this. Let me see on the options. I don't want to collapse that. What can we do here? I mean, we could also just like... Okay, that works. So I'm gonna collapse up first. I'm not a huge fan of SimModeler, to be honest. And then we're gonna say move with symmetry turned on, and we're just gonna move this down like this. So that's that guy right there. There we go. We could also use traditional move as well. And then let's try collapsing this. There we go. And that's the little shape right there. Now we're gonna go again to QMesh polygroup. We're gonna push these guys out, and we're also gonna collapse them. There we go. And now with move, we're gonna move them up. And there we go. We have the little like sun shape. Now, if we want this circular pattern to be a little bit more, precise, we can go to polygroup again. Let's polygroup the cylinder shape. Let's go to QMesh and just QMesh this out. And that way, if we go back to geometry and if we do dynamic subdivision, it looks horrible right now, right? Yes, because we don't have any support edges. But if we go again to our edge option, for instance, let's get rid of this. If we go to our edge option, and as if we were inside of like Maya or Blender or anything, and if we add a couple of support edges to the main areas of the elements, when we press D and we go into dynamic subdivision, as you can see, things are gonna start looking a little bit better. So again, you can press D, Shift D. For instance, let's add one there, D, always yes. Now the problem is the cylinder is getting a weird shape. So in this particular case, to be honest, I'm just gonna keep it like this. Again, I'm not gonna do Control D because we get this weird effect. So I'm just gonna keep it like this. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna divide this. I'm gonna go into geometry, or actually just Dynamesh. I'm just gonna go to Dynamesh and just Dynamesh this. And there we go. So we have the basic like goal shape of our character, like this sort of like sun thing. And now I can actually use my move brush to give this the proper form that we're looking for. It's also going to give me a more cartoonish look, which I think is going to benefit the whole thing. And now we're going to just correct some of the effect. To be honest, if I were doing this for production, I would probably be doing this inside of Maya, just because it's way easier. And then with Train Dynamic, we can add a little bit of a bevel to start sculpting this sort of like shape, because as you can see, it's not as sharp. Like the points and stuff of the spikes right here are not as sharp as what we have on the geometry right now. So we could just like bevel these things, and as we increase the geometry and we polish this thing more and more, we're gonna get the nice like sun shape. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller and get it into position. Now here again, I'm gonna go into the cloth, and of course pull this cloth back so it looks like it's beneath or behind the thing, as close as possible as we can get. The only thing is we don't want to see the skin or anything, right? So I can maybe push this thing a little bit further out. Oh. There we go. And that's it. I'm gonna stop the video right here, guys. We'll continue with this one on the next one. We're in a really like good position, I would say. Like we're really close to finishing the main accessories right here, and then we're gonna be able to go into the main stuff, which is of course all of the webbing, which is gonna be crazy, but it's hopefully it's gonna be like a cool project. So let's just add the colors again. So we had this very nice like purple on the pants. I'm gonna say color, fill object. Do the same thing for this guys. Let's turn the RGB intensity all the way to 100. And then this guy right here is going to be, of course, like this sort of like golden color. And that's it. So another 30 minutes of this cool character, and we're getting closer and closer to the to the final result. I know that and I think I've mentioned this one on yesterday's video. This is the process. It might be a little bit boring, especially when I'm taking a little bit of time to make sure things look good. But this is what we normally do in production. So unfortunately, I can't make tutorials that are like super fast. Like I wouldn't be able to create this character in like 2 minutes or 30 minutes. This is like a character that definitely takes a couple of hours to make sure that you get it right. But I think this right now, I'm gonna turn off the tabard so you can see the pants. I think this right now looks quite nice. So yeah, let's turn off this thing as well. So yeah, that's it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed a couple of cool tips and tricks. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you back tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow we have live stream day, so there's not going to be any video for Thursday. There's not going to be a video at the usual hour, but we are going to have our live stream. So if you want to tune in, we're going to be available at 12 p.m. Pacific time, or Mexico time, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, so yep, hang on tight. I'll see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.